Good.
Good. So, kick off from last time. First of all, welcome Jenny to the group. So, Jenny's joining after listening to the recording of the last lesson. So, Jenny, do you know Charlie or Susie or Nancy? Have you guys met before?
hmm
I know Charlie and Susie. I don't know if I know Nancy, and I didn't know Katie.
Well, great. Well, you'll find this a very welcoming group. There's actually quite a lot of people who can't attend today, but they're on the recording. But as you meet them, we go all the way up from Seattle in this particular lesson, all the way down to I think Pasadena is our furthest south. So we kind of cover the whole coast. Um, how did everyone find, or did you have the opportunity with this? Susie, I know you had some difficulties in terms of movement. How did everyone in general find it? I'll take quiet as yeah, shaking heads. It's a Monday. It's a Monday.
Okay.
It's a Monday morning. Susie, do you want to articulate to the group maybe what you found tricky? And it's one thing that we can talk about.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time with taking my flower outside and with trying to get in as much light as I could and inside with several extra lights. But I could not get enough light on my flower to do a fast shutter speed. I was going to do water droplets and with fast and slow shutter speed, and I just couldn't get enough light. The fastest I could go would be like 500, 500 at 2.8.
Susie, are you okay if I share the image that you sent me of
Sure,
the set
sure.
the setup you had? Because I think it's a good learning opportunity for kind of everyone in the class. So here's Susie's setup. Okay. External lights, some ambient light coming from the window on the left. Camera left. What time of day was this, Susie? Can you remember?
Yeah, this was probably morning, 10 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, perfect. Cloudy or sunny day?
It was a little bit cloudy.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that outside. It was a little bit gloomy, but
Yeah.
but you did try this setup as remind me. You tried this setup
Yes.
well
I put it
outside.
outside too, I couldn't get enough light.
Yeah, interesting. So your settings were so remember. Well,
Well, I think I got a close up of my settings. I thought I set another one, which was a really close up of my settings, but
let me have a look. Hold on. You may have done. Oh, yeah. So your settings were, I'll write them on here so everyone can see them. So your settings were 1640 f 2.8. Uh, let's see where your ISO was. ISO
100, I think.
100. There we go. Okay. So, and that was giving you a reasonable exposure. Not perfect, but like I can see from your histogram down there that,
Yeah.
the flower is pretty well exposed. So the challenge here is we need to be able to get the shutter speed up.
Yes.
So let's think about it. Let's break it down. So who can remember if we do 3 clicks, Kim's just coming in. If we do 3 clicks of the camera, okay, with shutter speed, i.e. we speed it up, can anyone remember what 3 clicks equates to?
Uh, let's see. Three
Way
clicks.
back in our note.
Four thousand.
Not so much what the number equates to, but what does it
Oh,
equate
I
to?
mean, I was looking at something else. Sorry.
No, you're okay. Okay. Who can remember how do we measure light in photography? What's the increment of light? How do we measure it?
Thirds.
Go kind of in thirds, yeah. The unit of
Or three. No.
say that again, Susie.
Pardon me?
Oh, sorry, I just thought you said something. But the light is measured in something called f-stops, right?
Yeah.
F-stops is the increment of measurement that we use to measure the strength of light, how bright or dark it is. If you guys came and sat in a photography studio with me and there were 4 photographers talking, you'd hear a photographer go, that shot's 1 stop too bright, that shot's 1 stop too dark, that shot's 3.5 stops too bright. It's just the language we use to assess the brightness or darkness of light. Now, to strip back for a second, and in a minute, this will make sense with Susie's, is when we change an f stop, As in and in this case, you'd be losing an f-stop of light because when you use a faster shutter speed, you're letting in less light. So when we minus 1f, can you guys see my drawing, by the way? Because I'm just drawing on this one particular picture.
Yeah.
Can't see my drawing? Perfect. So hey, Kim, when we minus 1f, can anyone remember in real terms what that means to the amount of light?
You're adding more light. If you have like a 2.0, it would be more light coming in.
Okay, good. But here, what I'm specifically saying is if we sped up the shutter speed, we'd be letting in less light. And if we let in less light, and I talk in photographer's language, by minus 1 f-stop, what does that mean in the real world? Like an f-stop is just like an abstract thing that unless you're a photographer, you don't know what it means. Does anyone have an idea of when you lose, what in relative terms it means when you lose 1 stop of light?
Less light is coming in.
Yeah, good. But by how much? Anyone want to have a guess?
Oh, well, 1640, whatever.
Don't even worry about these settings for the time. Not relevant. So what's relevant is all I want to know is when I lose a stop of light, how am I losing? Hey, Joanne.
Hi. I was having trouble getting in today.
It's okay. So when we lose 1 stop of light, this is really important. If you don't know this, write it down. When we lose 1 stop of light, it equals 50% of the light coming in.
I'm sorry, I missed that. There was talking.
Joanne, can you mute if you've got background?
Oh, do I?
I think it may have been Jenny who was, but don't worry, because we're all muted now. Just guys, if you've got background radio or noise, please
I
mute.
don't have anything on.
Okay.
Oh, it was,
My
I
barking
guess it
dog.
was Jenny. Sorry.
That's
There was
okay.
a dog.
Yeah. So when we lose 1 stop of light,
Yes.
okay, we halve the amount of light that comes into the camera, which is significant. It's half the amount of light. So minus 1f equals half the amount of light. Now, knowing that, who wants to hazard a guess as to what happens when we gain an f-stop of light? How much more light comes into our camera?
Say that again, one more time. When we
gain an f-stop.
Then
a full stop?
Yeah, a full stop, Joanne. How much more light is that?
Is that supposed to be twice? I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
It's a trick question.
No, it was not a trick question.
You want us to know.
So the key is when we plus 1f, when we gain a stop of light, we double the amount of light that gets into a camera.
Double, yeah.
When we lose a stop of light, we halve the amount that gets into the camera.
Okay.
Okay. Out of interest, has anyone got their camera there in front of them today?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Perfect. I'm actually going to draw a diagram to really help explain this. We'll come back to Susie's picture in a minute, but I think this is vital ground for us to cover before we jump into the photos that you sent. So let me just share my Lightroom. Okay. So if we know that gaining 1 stop of light doubles it and losing 1 stop of light halves it, that gives us a level of control, because when you look at the meter on your camera, okay, so you all have a meter on your camera, which tells you essentially whether your photo is too bright or too dark. And the meter has 3 lines here, 1, 2, 3, 3 lines here. And then it has little kind of baby lines in between. And you should all be able to see that on the bottom of your camera, whether you've got a Canon, a Nikon, a Sony, doesn't matter. For some of you, it'll be running up the side, depending on the model of your camera. Either runs along the bottom or the side.
I don't have one.
Can't see it on your camera? Take a look through the camera. It may be that it's every camera on the planet has one. It just may be it's turned off on your camera. You just have to go into the display menu and turn it on, but it should be running along the bottom or running along the side.
Next to what f-stop you were on.
Yeah. So if you guys can't find it, don't worry about it just yet. Let me explain the theory. And then, because you've all got different cameras, so I can't kind of do a blanket of this is where you need to go to get it. But I can tell you that it should be on every one of your cameras that when you look through the camera, you should see a meter either at the bottom or running along the side.
I see a lot of numbers, like this shutter speed, the f-stop and ISO.
Yeah, that's correct. On most cameras, it looks
So
like
that what you're talking about, that's the metering?
no, the meter. So this is your settings. So imagine I'm like looking through my camera. So you'll always see your settings, and then usually you'll see a little meter after it. For some of you, it will just look like flashing bars. If you don't see it, don't worry about it just yet. Let me cover the theory, and then we can come back to how do we actually get it up, because every one of you has access to this. The reason this is really, really, really important is this is our indicator of how bright or how dark our photo is. That's to say that these yellow lines, and I'm going to go a bit slow here because this is highly theoretical, but these yellow lines indicate, and they're not yellow on your camera, they're just yellow, so I can help explain it. But these indicate stops of light. So if I go and I go outside today and it's cloudy, or I'm Susie and I was struggling with like the picture that I was trying to take with all my lights, if the meter is flashing at me here on this one, that's telling me that the photograph that I'm about to take with whatever settings I have is -1 f underexposed. It's too dark by -1 stop, which basically means I have to double the amount of light to get back to 0. We'll look at how to do that in a minute. But the meter is an indication of whether your photograph is underexposed or overexposed. For those of you with a film background, you may remember that you used to have to like take a light meter, kind of like a stick, and you'd hold it in front of a flower or hold it in front of someone's face, and it would assess the light for you. We don't need to do that anymore because it's all internally built into like the computer of your camera. But it's really important to understand it's there and why it's there, especially to help us be more intentional with our settings and to be able to kind of more rationally and logically solve a problem like Susie had, which we'll come back to, where she couldn't get her settings to where she needed to get them without the picture being too dark. So the key takeaway at the moment is when you lose 1 f, you halve the amount of light. When you gain 1 f, you double it. So for example, again, if it was flashing here at me on the meter, Nancy, what's that telling me about my photo?
Overexposed.
By how much?
2 stops.
No, over
One,
here.
yeah, it's twin stop.
1 stop. Okay, and to get it back to 0, how much less light do I have to let in? If I need to lose 1 f to get it back to 0. What is
2 stops.
No, think what is it? How much less light do I have to get in? And maybe these arrows are all confusing. So let me just get it back to here. Okay, so it's flashing me here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's telling me that the photo is -1 f overexposed. Always to the right is too bright. This is the same in Lightroom. Like when we play with Lightroom, a lot of those numbers in Lightroom mean stops of light, like the exposure slider. When you slide it, it perfectly corresponds to your camera. So if I was taking this picture is telling me that I am 1 stop overexposed. Okay. So if I need to get it back, ultimately, the aim of the game is we need to always have our meter in the middle. You actually don't even see a 0, but I've just put it on there to help explain it. But when it's in the middle, that's what we call optimal exposure. That means your photograph is not too bright and not too dark. When you shoot on your iPhones, I know everyone here's got a camera, but you also use your iPhones. When you shoot on your iPhones, this happens automatically. It happens automatically as well if you're shooting on auto on your cameras. But you're all good enough, and I'm definitely going to push this theory on you guys because you're now an intermediate to advanced group. I need you to know this. So if it's flat, if we're one stop overexposed, how many stops do you think we have to lose to get back to zero? Feel free to shout it out. Have a guess. No?
One.
Good.
One.
One.
Stop.
You got it.
Overexposed? Yeah,
So if we're
one.
one stop overexposed, we need to lose a stop to get back to zero. Okay? And if we lose one F, so if we minus one F to get back to zero, how much less light are we letting in the camera? Just talked about it 5 minutes ago. I said write it down. What does minus one F represent in real terms?
One stop.
Stop.
Yeah.
One stop.
What does one stop mean? That's like a really abstract thing. What does one stop mean in terms of how much?
Half the amount of light.
You got it. So I know if this is flashing at me at 1, I need to halve the amount of light that gets into the camera to get me back to 0 because I'm one stop overexposed. Essentially, I'm letting in double the amount of light I should be, and I want to get back to 0. So I want to go minus 1F. I'm going to tell you how to do it in a minute. I just need you to understand the theory. Everyone clear? Everyone keeping up?
Yeah, if I couldn't get lower than F point
Okay,
F.
okay, hold on. Susie, you're getting confused. Or not confused, conflating two things.
Okay.
When I'm talking about f-stops, and I'm talking about the f-stop is the unit of measurement to measure light in photography, forget about aperture. The reason aperture says f something, f2.8, f5.6, f8 is just because it just corresponds to how we measure light. But I'm not talking about here your aperture. I'm not talking about f2.8 to f5.6 to f8. I'm talking way more high level of just the way that we measure light in photography is in this unit of measurement called f-stops. Every time we gain an f-stop, we double the amount of light. Every time we lose an f-stop, we halve the amount of light. So kind of three things we've learned so far. One, f-stops are the unit of measurement of light, the increment. Two, when we gain a stop, we double it. When we lose a stop, we halve it, the amount of light. And then the third thing that we've learned is we have a visual representation on our cameras that helps us understand whether our photograph is overexposed or underexposed. And that's called the meter. And this is the meter. And the meter is just a visual representation that tells you, firstly, whether your photo is too bright or too dark. If it's over to the right, it's too bright. If it's over to the left, it's too dark. And then, as importantly, it quantifies how much you are overexposed or how much you are underexposed by how many F numbers. But it's nothing, don't think about aperture. Don't get confused with aperture. It's easy. I understand why you made that kind of distinction, but they're two separate things. As I say, like if you walked into a photography studio with me tomorrow and there were 10 photographers there and we were talking about light, we'd all be saying 2 stops here, 3 stops here, add that, power up that light by another stop, take down your camera by 2 stops. It's just the language that photographers use, advanced photographers, to measure light. Okay, anyone got any questions before I move on to the next step here? And I know this is highly theoretical. You've got the recording, you can go back. I'm going purposely relatively slowly. So I'll make sure we don't leave anyone behind.
Adam, I understand what you're saying. I understand the theory of what you're saying. But correct me if I'm wrong, everyone. Didn't we all think that, or I did, that you had to change your aperture to let in more or less light? And that's the language that we were taught. And I can see how it corresponds, but when you to losing a stop or gaining a stop, but where it is confusing is when you say we don't use f-stops to talk about gaining or losing light. We talk about the measurement or the of light or the losing or gaining a step.
Yeah,
It's not.
I hear where you're having the issue. It's going to make a lot more sense in about 10 minutes. But to
Okay.
answer your question, when I'm thinking, as I said, I'm talking very high level. Just f-stops is how we measure light. Now,
Mhm.
aperture, if we the exposure triangle that we're all familiar with, aperture,
Mhm.
shutter speed, and ISO, those are our three variables that we have to be able to adjust how many stops of light get in or out our camera. So the primary job of each one of these things is to control the exposure, as in how bright or dark your photograph is. So when we look at the meter, and I'm going to use your settings, Susie, as an example, like as we plow through this, like this use case of we would have looked at the meter. When we look at a meter and a meter says to me, here's my meter again, and the meter's flashing at me here. Actually, we'll use Susie's example because it was too dark. So the meter's flashing at me here. This is telling me that I'm 2 stops underexposed,
Mhm.
where the camera thinks I should be. My job as the photographer is then to change one of or a combination of the aperture, ISO, and shutter speed to get us back to zero.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's talk this through. I'm going to make this is probably the most theory heavy I'll probably ever go on this group, but I think this is really, really important. I'm going to draw a diagram here, and I want you all to pick up your cameras. Those of you who've got your cameras there. And if you wouldn't mind, I want you to put your shutter speed to 1/125, which is the general like run-of-the-mill shutter speed. I would encourage you to put it on if you're just going outside, not doing anything special. Okay? Or let me know when you're there.
Yes.
Susie, when you hold a camera, put your left hand, remember, Joanne as well, left hand goes underneath the lens. Cradle the lens like a baby. Don't hold it from above. Feels really weird. Joanne's now holding the camera properly. Good. Susie, you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed, but I'm holding it with my left.
Yeah. But I'm just look out, Joanne. Hold up the camera. You're doing a really nice job of look how Joanne's holding the camera.
Oh, just a second. I have to find her.
Okay.
There you are, Joanne. Okay.
And what a lot of you were doing, Joanne, do you want to show the mistake you were making? Was Joanne's left hand was over the that's the no-no. So we're much more steady when we cradle the camera like a baby. Tuck in our elbows, cradle the camera. That's how to properly hold a camera. Especially if any of you have bigger lenses, you never want to be holding them from above. Makes you much less steady. So Susie, that looks good. How you're holding it there, much better. That now, if you guys aren't used to doing that, it feels really weird at the beginning, really weird. But if you can try and persevere with holding the camera like that, it's going to make a huge difference in how crisp your photographs are. Anyway, let's come back to this. I put shutter. I'm going to make a column for shutter speed. In fact, I don't even need a line. And I want you all to put it at 1/125. Okay, and then let's start with Joanne. Joanne, I want you to speed up the shutter speed and read out the numbers to the class, please.
Just a minute.
Okay.
I'm not at 125 yet. Oops. I think, why am I not?
I can do it.
Okay, Charlie, go for it.
160.
No, hold on. We're going to go 1/125, not 1/20.
I've got 1/125.
Good. Okay, and
1
Karen.
over 160.
Good.
1/200.
Good.
1/250.
Good.
1/320.
Oh, yeah.
1/400.
Good.
Yeah.
1/500, and on it goes.
Keep on going. Just give me 3 more.
Oh, 1/640 and 1/800.
Okay, and the last
And
one.
1,000.
Over 1,000. Perfect. Okay, great. Good. Okay. Now, Joanne, come back to 1/125 on your camera and read me out the numbers going the other way.
I'm sorry, what am I going over?
If you can put your shutter speed back to 1/125 for me, please.
I don't do it this way. That's 1/1.
Susie, you there? At 1 over
Yeah,
1?
I can do it.
Okay,
Okay, 1/100,
good,
1/80,
good.
1/60,
Oh,
1/50.
Let's stop there because I've run out of room.
Okay, okay.
Okay, good.
Goes to auto. Yeah.
Okay, so you remember you can change the shutter speed if you're in shutter speed priority, which is when you're just controlling the shutter speed. But I really want to push this group to be in manual, where you're controlling all three, which is going to make a lot of sense when we talk about f-stops and lighting and meter in a second. As a reminder to everyone, just while we've got all these shutter speeds pulled up, generally you don't want it. It's quite nice that this finishes here. Anything slower than this, you don't want to handhold the camera because you're going to shake. And whenever you don't want to, unless you're intentionally shaking, like you'll see in some of the movement pictures that we get onto in a minute, like if you're doing intentional camera movement, ICM. But most of the time, you don't, 1/50th should be your cutoff to handhold the camera. You go any slower than 1/50th, you're going to want to use a tripod or rest it on something. You can kind of get away with it with a few of the slower shutter speeds, but if you'd be talking like if I took 10 pictures, 5 of them would be sharp. And I want to make sure you have a 10 out of 10 success rate. Okay, so why am I getting you to read out all these shutter speeds? And why is it relevant to what we've been talking about? With traditional cameras, sorry, that was my dog. With traditional cameras, if you, and I handed you like a 50-year-old camera, a lot of traditional cameras would only give us, as we change the shutter speed, the ability to be able to jump from those numbers that I have highlighted. You read me out the numbers and you went from 1/60th to 1/80th to 1/100 to 1/125. If I handed you a 50-year-old camera, the majority of them, it would go straight from 1/60th to 1/125 to 1/250 to 1/500 to 1/1000. Reason being, until digital photography really became popular 15 to 20 years ago, the majority of cameras only allowed us, when it comes to shutter speed, which we're talking about at the moment, to move in full stops of light. That's to say that as we move from 1/160 to 1/125, the shutter speed's getting quicker, so we're losing light. But I know exactly how much light I'm losing. I'm losing -1f. I go from 1/125 to 1/250, I'm losing -1f. From 250 to 500, -1f. 500 to 1,000, -1f. Okay? Now, what does that mean? As I move from 1/60th to 1/125, it's all very well saying, well, I lose -1f. But unless you talk photographer's language, that means nothing. How much light, how much less light am I letting in from 1/160th to 1/125?
Half a stop.
Good. Not just half the amount of light. Forget about stop. It's just half the amount.
Half the amount. Yeah.
You lose a stop of light, you divide the light by 2. You only get 50% of the light. So 1/160th or 1/125 would have 50% less light. I'm just going to put here divide by 2. Or I can put -50%. It's the same thing. But as I jump between each one of those shutter speeds, I'm halving the amount of light, which is significant. That's a lot if I'm half the amount of light, half the amount of light, half the amount of light, half the amount of light. You're quickly going to run out of light if you do that. If I come the other way and I go from 1/1000 to 1/500, Nancy, am I speeding up or slowing down the shutter speed as I go from 1,000 to 500?
You're doubling it.
Good. Explain why. How did you get to that assumption?
Well, just looking at the number, but what you were just telling us that
Well, first we'll go back to the question I asked you, Nancy, from 1/1000 to 1/500 for the benefit of everyone on the group. Is that speeding up or slowing down the shutter speed? from 1 as I go this way.
That's slowing down the shutter speed.
Good. Really good. So we're slowing down the shutter speed. We're letting in more light.
Right.
And what we're doing here is the opposite. We're gaining 1F. We're gaining 1F, gaining 1F. Sorry, I'm going to run out of room here. This is going to become a messy diagram, but hopefully it's going to make sense. So we're gaining 1F, gaining 1F, gaining 1F, which means in real terms, Joanne, when I gain 1F, how much more or less light am I getting in the camera?
You're doubling it.
You got it. We're doubling it. Good. So it's starting to come together. So we're doubling, 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 doubling the amount of light. Okay, so I'm going to use a really basic example here, just to keep us on track. So if I looked at my meter, okay, which looks like this, doesn't have any numbers on it, and my settings on my camera were 1/500, I'm just going to make something up, f5.6, ISO 100. And it was telling me that I was here. It's flashing at me right here. What's that telling me about the picture I'm taking?
Underexposed.
Good. I'm going to ask Jenny, if you don't mind taking yourself off mute. Jenny, by how much underexposed am I if it's flashing here?
You are, we're 0
Zero's hit.
by 50%, right?
What do you mean?
No,
Oh, I'm talking to somebody else.
2/3.
You're
You guys,
so
are,
if
you guys are, you guys are overthinking it.
you're underexposed
By how many stops?
by you're by 2 stops.
You got it. So I'm underexposed by 2 stops. So each one of those big solid lines on your meter corresponds to a stop of light. So this is telling me I've got these settings, but if I take this picture because it's a cloudy day or I'm inside or there's not much ambient light, then my picture is going to be too dark. So I need to gain 2 stops of light. Okay, because I'm -2 too dark. So I have to get 2 back to bring me back to 0. So essentially I have to double the light and then I have to double it again. What do you think that means I have to change my shutter speed to get me back to 0 if I'm 2 stops underexposed? And I'm still here, guys. I'm just going to quickly let out my dog. You guys think about that first. Anyone got any ideas?
Slow it down to get more light.
Good. So that's the first thing. And the big question, because the reason I'm teaching you this is because I want you to be much more intentional. By how much do I have to slow it down?
2 stops.
Good. So if I'm at 1/500,
You've got to go to 1/250.
that's gaining 1 stop. So if I
yes, 125.
if I did this and I did 1/250,
That's
it would be
125.
yeah, good. It would be flashing at me here. I would have got 1 stop back, but I wouldn't have got the 2 stops back. So the answer when we look at this is like, how do I let's get rid of all of this. If I'm 2 stops underexposed, how do I get back to 0? I just changed the shutter speed from 1/500 to 1/125. I now know that 1/125, f5.6, ISO 100 puts me smack bang in the middle. Let's go the other way. Let's do another example, okay? Where we're just talking about shutter speed. Everyone making sense to everyone? A little bit?
Mm-hmm.
A little bit.
Yeah, this is heavy. This is heavy theory. This all takes a little bit of time. So let me just get rid of everything here, and I'm going to do another scenario. Okay. So this time I'm going to say that I'm using a shutter speed of 1/125. My F numbers are 8 and my ISO is at 100. The F and the ISO don't really matter here at the moment for what I'm trying to teach you. We're just thinking about shutter speed for the time being. Okay, here's my meter, here's 0. Okay, it's telling me that I'm over here, that I'm flashing over here.
Overexposed by one stop.
I'm overexposed by
By one stop. Isn't that one stop?
nope.
Nope.
+1.
Plus
Two.
2
Oh.
plus 3.
Oh,
Three.
three stop. If it's just that,
So each one of these bars represents a stop of light.
yeah.
So if you're on the third big bar, you're 3 stops overexposed. Okay. If I was on the third big bar over here, I'd be -3. It helps when I put the -2, -1. I was just testing you guys a little bit because you don't see the number because your camera doesn't show you those numbers. So you just kind of have to learn what these bars mean. So if this is, so here, so first of all, if I took this picture with these settings and it was flashing at me right here, if I took the picture, is it going to be too bright or too dark?
Too bright.
You're right.
And let's just imagine, I'm going to use this picture as an example that you can kind of see in the background. Okay, when we do the develop module and we go here, that number, if I put that to 3, that means 3 stops. Let's put that to 3. Okay, so that's 3 stops too bright, this picture. So imagine I'm taking this picture. This is our picture that I'm taking that you can kind of see in there. And the camera is flashing at me and saying, hey, Adam, I'm 3 stops overexposed. So the first thing to understand is are you too bright or are you too dark? The second thing you have to understand is by how much are you too bright or too dark? And then the third thing to understand is how to fix it. You can only fix it if you can quantify I'm 2 stops too bright or 3, in this case, 3 stops too bright. Kim, I'm not sure if you're there. I don't know. I don't want to call on you if you're busy doing
I'm here.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Kim because I haven't asked Kim a question yet today. So Kim, if these are our settings, 1/125, f8, 100, and it's telling me that I'm 3 stops overexposed, what do you think I need to do to the shutter speed? Slow it down or speed it up? You're on mute. Sorry, Kim, can you just take yourself off mute?
You need to speed the shutter speed up.
Good. Excellent. So that's the first thing. So we need to let in less light. We need to let in 3 stops less light than the picture that we're currently taking. What does that then take our shutter speed to? Look at my numbers.
1,000.
Good. Good. So it takes it. So what I'm doing is I'm jumping, do it in a different color so it's really obvious. So I'm jumping from 1/125, 1 stop, 2 stops, 3 stops. So my settings to get this perfect are 1/1000th, f8, 100. That would bring me back to the middle. I'm minusing 3 f's to get back to 0.
Okay.
That make sense to everyone? Okay, good. So key takeaway so far is we're going to look at the meter, and the meter tells us A, is our photo too bright or too dark? B, by how much is it too bright or too dark? In this simple, well, not so simple, but in this illustration that I'm showing you here, I'm showing you how to move shutter speed in full stops of light. Okay, anyone? I'm just going to pause there. Has anyone got any questions or concerns? Okay, good. So let's carry on. So when you all changed your shutter speeds, you didn't jump from 1/60th to 1/125 to 1/250 to 1/500 to 1/1000. You had these other fractions of light, these other numbers in between. About almost 20 years ago now, photographers kind of canvassed together and spoke to everyone who makes cameras, and it was like a consensus decision that moving in full stops of light doesn't give us enough control. Because if the only thing I can do is double the amount of light or half the amount of light, Like Jenny has a very pretty background behind her of the mountains, and you can see they're going bright and they're going dark depending on where she moved. But at the moment, they're overexposed. Yeah, if she moves, then they're going to go blue again. But if we just doubled or halved the amount of light in Jenny's background, we probably won't get back to blue sky because the change that we're making will be too extreme. So what happened, and what you now have to understand, is cameras now move in thirds of a stop. And on your meters, you have these little like baby bars that live next to the big bars. I'm going to go really slowly here so we're all on board and we all make sure we understand. So when I draw my numbers on here, which will help this make more sense, just get my right color pen. So +1, +2, +3, -1, -2, -3. Okay. The green bars in between represent thirds of a stop. I.e., if I want to get to +1, I have to go 1, that's +1/3. And then I have to go another one, that's plus another third. Now you don't see these numbers, you just see your shutter speed, and then you go again. The biggest takeaway, and probably the easiest thing to remember on all of this, is that 3 clicks of your shutter speed, whether you make it faster or slower, equals 1 stop. Okay, so 3 clicks, either making it faster or making it slower, means you're either losing or gaining 1 stop of light. I'm going to test you again. Susie, when I gain a stop of light, how much more light am I getting?
You're getting, when you gain a stop, you're getting 3 clicks of your shutter speed.
Yeah, but how much more light? If I'm standing looking outside and I imagine I turn to the brightness up by a stop, how much more bright is everything?
If you turn it up by a stop, it's 3 clicks.
Yes, but
third of a stop.
Joanne, you want to help her? When I gain a stop of light,
You're doubling.
good. You're doubling the amount of light.
Sorry, yeah.
You're good. You said the right things. You were just going a roundabout way to try to get to my answer. But the reason I'm testing all of you guys on this a bit more than normal is I really want to solidify the concepts in your heads. So every time if I do 3 clicks and I slow the shutter speed down, 1, 2, 3. If I go from 1/500 to too far. If I go from 1/500 to 1/250, I am gaining a stop of light, which means I'm doubling it. I'm doubling the amount of light. When I lose a stop of light, I'm halving the amount of light. Okay. So 3 clicks equals losing a stop or gaining a stop of light. Let's take this one step further. So when you look at your meter has these baby bars. Okay. And these baby bars represent thirds of a stop. They correspond exactly more closely with how you change your shutter speed. So let's use an example. So if my meter was flashing at me there, Nancy, is that telling me the photo is too bright or too dark?
It's too bright, too overexposed.
Okay. By how much?
2/3 of a stop?
Very good. Excellent. Good. So this is telling me I'm 2/3 of a stop plus 2/3 of an F. Too bright. Hopefully you can all read my writing. Too bright. Okay. And my settings, I'm going to just make something up again. My settings are 1/500, f5.6, ISO 100. And the meter is flashing at me here. My photo is 2/3 of a stop too bright. Anyone got any guess in how many clicks I have to do of my shutter speed to get it back to 0?
2.
2. Good. Yeah. Don't overthink this. It's just 2. If it was at a full stop, it would be 3. So if I need to do 2 clicks, what is my shutter? And I need to get it back to 0. Everyone look at my table over here. What does my shutter speed need to go to?
1/320.
Very good. 1, 2. But you're wrong. You're close, but you're wrong. You went the because think about it. I'm too bright. If I go to 1/320, am I making the photo
The
brighter or darker?
direction.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you gotta go. Oh, God, this is like, my brain doesn't work this way, but.
Do you know what? Neither does mine. I hate math.
Neither does mine.
But this is most photographers are like artistic. They're more conceptual, and we spend tons of time doing this. But this stuff you have to get your head around.
But you're explaining it really well. It's just that I'm okay. 125. Okay, so if it's at 1/500 and you need to let less light in, you have to go to 1,000 with 800.
Good. 800, 2 clicks. One
Yeah.
click, 2 clicks. The correct settings here is 1/800. Okay, I'm going to do another one. Okay, let's say we're looking at this and I'm going to make something up. We're photographing a hummingbird, and we know to photo. Oh, in fact, I can't go off my scale here. We're photographing a dog running in a park. Okay, and we're photographing a dog running in a park, and my shutter speed is, let's just make it up, 1/500 f4 ISO 100. It's a sunny day. Okay, now ideally our shutter speed would be a little bit higher there, but I don't have room on my table, and in a minute it will make sense. And this is flashing at me this time here, that one there. What's that telling me about? First of all, Charlie, is that telling me that the photo is too bright or too dark? Let Charlie answer everyone.
I don't know. It's a way above me.
Stick with it. Think.
I wouldn't in my head be doing all this standing out in the grass. I would probably be fooling with my shutter speed to see what looked good.
Correct. But the reason I'm teaching you this is precisely because of the problem Susie had.
Yes.
I don't want you to have to fool it or play with it or experiment with it too much. When you get, and I know this seems incredibly a lot to get your head around, and honestly, once you think about this, you practice it. It's kind of like if I said to all of you, okay, we're going to teach you how to drive a car. And none of you have ever driven a car before. And I say, put your foot on the gas, turn the indicator, like steer the wheel, look at the mirrors. You'd be like, oh my God, this is way too much to think about it. I'm just going to figure it out. But you'll drive a car and you don't even think about driving a car. This becomes, I promise, from 22 years of teaching this stuff, it becomes subconscious. But you have to practice it. But at the beginning, when I teach people this, it's like, oh my God, this is a lot. So I hear you, Charlie, just stick with me. When we go -1 1/3, anyone feel free to shout out, is it too bright or too dark?
Dark.
Too dark.
Too dark.
Too dark. And it's too dark here by -1 1/3 of a stop. Okay. And my shutter speed's at 500. So I need to let in +1 1/3 more light to get me back to 0. What does my shutter speed need to go to?
1/2.
1/200.
Good. Okay. And Nancy, everyone call that out. Tell the group, how did you get to 1/2? Tell me the thought process. How did you get from 1/500 to 1/200?
I looked at your table and went one stop.
Yeah.
And then the third.
Good. So it's 4 clicks. So 1/3 stop, I had to gain back 4 clicks. Okay. And that would take me to 1/200. And then I know my photo is perfectly exposed. Okay.
But wouldn't the motion, if you slow
Great
your shutter
question. Great
speed?
question. I was waiting for someone to say that. So yes, the non-negotiable. If I'm photographing a dog running in the park, or I'm Jenny and I'm photographing the movement of what I was trying to do with the splashes of the flower, this would give me the right exposure, but it would ruin what I'm trying to do. As in,
Mhm.
remember, aperture, shutter speed, and ISO, their main job is to control the amount of light that gets into your camera. That's their main job. But each one has a creative side effect. We know this. Shutter speed is movement, aperture is depth of field, ISO is noise. But their main job, the reason they create that exposure triangle, is to control how much light gets into your camera. It's useless to me if I take a picture of the dog, even if the dog is frozen, if the picture is way too dark or way too bright. So I got to get both right. So with Jenny's point, I'm going to move on because I'm going to look at how we solve a problem like this. And we solve a problem like this by bringing in the other variables. Okay. So now, in fact, Susie, can you pick up your camera? I'm going to do this in blue. And we are going to go the lowest your aperture will go. The lowest number, please.
2.8.
Okay. And then I want you to come up from 2.8 and read me out.
Okay, just a second. Sorry, I
And
just
some of you won't be able to get down to 2.8. That's okay.
okay. Why is that not doing it? Okay, 3.2. Geez, I want this to, okay, just a second.
Next one.
3.5, 4.0, 4.5, 5.0,
Okay.
and that's it.
No, you can go much higher than that. 5.6 is the next one.
Oh, wait a second. Well, that's because, well, I'm in manual and it's trying to, I have to change.
Right? If anyone's keeping up with Susie and their apertures on 5.6, can you help me carry on going up?
6.3,
Good,
7.1,
good,
8,
good,
9,
good. Keep on going.
10, 11, 13.
Slow down for everyone, Nancy.
Okay.
Go one more from 13.
14.
Okay, great. So
Why would mine not move like that? Oh, because I see.
So here's our aperture numbers. Okay. Now again, I'm kind of presuming that you guys know some knowledge here because we've learned it previously. I know it's been a while, but Joanne, tell me as I'm going down here, am I letting in more or less light?
You go down, you're losing light.
Good. Very good. So we know big F numbers equal more light, small f numbers equal less light. Okay. Now, again, if I threw a 30, and you guys may have a 20-year-old or 30-year-old or 40-year-old lens, if I threw an older lens, especially a lens that isn't from digital, into your hands, it's likely in some cameras, like if you go out and buy a camera that's trying to be vintage, a lot of the Leica cameras have this on them, a lot of the Fuji cameras, some of the Panasonic cameras, but most of you are Nikon, Sony, or Canon. But if I threw an older lens at you and I tried to change the aperture, it would only let me change from 2.8 to 4 to 5.6 to 8 to 11 and so on. And that's because, again, much like with shutter speed, until about 20 years ago, we could only move in full stops of light. So when I move from 2.8 to f4, Joanne, am I letting in more light or less light?
Less light.
Good. And I'm letting in less light here. Anyone want to have a guess by how much? Kind of ties into the shutter speed stuff we've been talking about.
One stop.
One stop, good. So this is minus 1f.
Yes.
I'm losing a stop of light. If I go again here, it's minus 1f. It's minus 1f. Okay. How much, Susie, when I lose a stop of light, how in real terms, in the real world, like if I was talking to my 4-year-old, how much less light am I letting into the camera?
You're talking to your 4-year-old?
Yeah. Well, she may not. Okay, let's say if she was 15, not 4.
Okay, wait, backtrack. Can we just backtrack?
Yeah, of course.
What's the
Point
question?
2.8 lets in more light than F14.
Yes. So we're getting darker here as we go down.
Yes.
We're
Oh,
losing a stop of light, -1f. So from
okay,
2.8 to F4, we lose a stop of light.
right.
From F4 to 5.6, we lose a stop of light. My question is, when we lose a stop of light,
It's 3 clicks.
good, it's 3 clicks, but
You're losing is you're doubling the lot.
close, think about it carefully. When we go from 2.8 to 4, am I doubling the amount of light?
No, you're
No.
reducing the amount of
Reducing
light
it.
I'm losing the amount of light by how much?
by a stop.
Yes. Joanne, what does it mean when I lose light by a stop?
It gets darker.
By how much?
One stop.
Good.
Oh.
But what does one stop mean? Like one stop is this like abstract thing that doesn't really mean anything. When I look back at your notes, Kim's going to help out. Okay. Kim, what is losing?
One half.
Good. So we're halving the amount of light. So we're losing fit. So as I jump from 2.8 to F4, I'm letting in 50% of the amount of light.
Yes.
Mhm.
And from 4 to 5.6, I'm letting in 50% of the amount of light. So I'm going to repeat it again. When you lose a stop of light, which represents 3 clicks on your camera, you halve the amount of light. I'll write it down actually. -1f equals 3 clicks, which equals 50% less light. Okay, so with that logic, if I jump from 5.6 to F4, how much light do you think?
Stop.
Good. Gaining one stop, and what does that mean in the real world? Like, what does gaining a stop mean? How much more light am I letting in?
Amount of light.
Good. Thanks, Kim. So we're doubling the amount of light. Good, good, good. So as we go this way, it's exactly like shutter speed. It's just the opposite. So as the hole gets bigger, as I go from f8 to 5.6, I know as a photographer in my head that I'm doubling the amount of light. I'm gaining an f-stop. If I go from f8 to f11, I know in my head as a photographer that I'm losing the stop of light and I'm halving it. Okay? The reason I've got these numbers in blue boxes is, as I say, that older lenses only let us jump in stops of light. Even some modern day cameras, you can only jump in stops of light when it comes to aperture. Remember, shutter speed and aperture are both primarily responsible for controlling how much light gets to your camera. Okay, so exactly like shutter speed. 20 years ago, every photographer was like, this is just not giving me enough control when it comes to the aperture. I don't want to change my aperture and only be able to gain a stop or half a stop of light, double or 50% the amount of light. I don't want to just be up to +1f or -1f. I need more control. And the more control is exactly like shutter speed, is they gave you thirds of a stop in between. So as I go, I'll go down this way. As I go down here and down here and down here, every time I'm losing -1/3, -1/3, -1/3, which ultimately makes up losing -1f when I do 3 clicks. So 3 clicks of your aperture, which is why this becomes relatively easy to remember once you get your head around it, is 3 clicks of your aperture equals gaining or losing 1 stop of light. Exactly the same as the shutter speed. Okay. So let me play out a scenario. To Jenny's point, and for those of you who figured out that if I was taking a picture of a dog and I slowed the shutter speed down too far, the dog's going to be blurry. Let's imagine I'm taking my picture of a dog. Okay. And my settings are 1/500, f8, ISO 100. Okay.
Pretty low.
I look at my meter. Okay. And here's my bars. 0, +1, +2, +3, -1, -2, -3. And remember, I have the little baby bars that go in between. Okay. So I go to take my picture and I'm taking a picture of a dog. There's me taking my picture of a dog. Terrible drawing of a dog, but there's me taking my picture of a dog. Okay. And the camera is telling me that I am here.
I'm exposed by 1 and 1/4.
Hold on. Don't call it out. Think it in your head just for a sec, because I want to make sure so Joanne, I'm going to come to you because I heard you say it. So first question is the photo too bright or too dark?
Too dark.
Too dark. Second question is, by how much is it too dark?
1 1/3.
Excellent. So this is telling us that this is 1, 2, 3, 4 clicks of my camera, which means I'm -1 1/3 underexposed. So that means to get back to 0, I have to gain 1 1/3. How many clicks of the camera is 1 1/3?
4.
Good. So that equals 4 clicks, because we know one stop is 3 clicks and then any additional. So and you can see this on the meter. It kind of makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4 would bring us back to 0. Now, because we pushed this on and made it a little bit more advanced, we can choose whether we get our light back by changing the shutter speed or the aperture. It doesn't have to be one or the other. I could do, if I wanted to here, I could so here I am, I'm -1 1/3. I could come with my shutter speed and say I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 4 clicks, sorry. This becomes 1/200. That would expose my photo perfectly, but it would screw up my picture of the dog because my shutter speed is now too slow. There's always usually a non-negotiable, and the non-negotiable here is shutter speed. We can't slow the shutter speed down too far because because the dog's going to be underexposed. So if I'm at 1/500 f8, Nancy, what do we think the aperture has to go to?
5.
Good. Susie, how did she get to 5?
I'm sorry, I got a text and I got distracted.
Okay. So Nancy said to get us back to 0, the F number has to go to 5. That is the correct answer. How did she know that?
Because she had to go, let's see,
4 clicks.
2, 3, 4, 5. She had to do that many clicks to get to F5.
4 clicks. But she knew she had to do 4 clicks because she was -1 1/3 to underexposed. So this picture now with these settings gives me the perfect exposure, but doesn't compromise the movement of the dog. That makes sense.
Does make sense.
Okay, starting to come together. Let's do it. I'm going to do loads of different use cases here to get you guys to really think. Okay, let's imagine I'm photographing a landscape. Okay, I'm photographing a garden. We go on a field trip and we go to photograph a garden. And we know that to photograph the garden, I don't want my F number to drop below. Let me see if I can get rid of these settings. To drop below, there we go. I don't want my F number to drop below F11 because F11 is giving me a pretty nice depth of field of the garden. My shutter speed is at let's just make something up. My shutter speed is at 1/100, and my ISO again is at 100 as well. Okay. Again, I'm going to draw the meter. This time I'm not going to put the numbers on it. Make it a little bit trickier. Okay. So here's 0, and then here's my baby bars in between. Okay. The picture is telling me, in this case, that I am here, on this one here.
Overexposed.
So yeah. So first of all, you ask yourself a question. To the right always means too bright. To the left almost means too dark. By how much overexposed am I?
1, 2, 3, 4,
1 and 2/3 stop.
Say that again, Joanne.
1 and 2/3 stop.
Good. So we are 1 2/3 of a stop overexposed. Jenny, how many clicks does that mean that I need to get me back to 0?
5.
Don't tell her. You guys are all calling it out and giving it away. Just if
I actually was on, I said 5 and
Oh, no,
I
you're
was
fine, you're fine.
on mute. Yeah.
One thing I'll ask is if I call on people and ask them, let them think about it and work it through in their heads before you shout out the answer, unless I open it up to the group. So correct. So we know that this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks. Gets us. So then I think, okay, I have 5 clicks that I have to get. I need 5 clicks more light, plus 1 2/3. I have to make this picture darker because it's overexposed by 1f and 2/3. So what do you think I want to change if I'm photographing? I'm just going to make it an example. I'm photographing a garden. Okay, but it's telling me that it's too bright. Would the first thing that I want to think about changing be the shutter speed or the aperture?
Shutter speed.
Let's say it's a really calm day and not much is moving. You're in the redwood trees.
Shutter speed.
Good. So there's a number of ways I could do this. I could say I'm at 1/100. I'm going to try and use a color here that stands out. So I'm at 1/100. I'm here in my pink. And I could very easily just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This becomes 1/320. That's perfectly exposed. That's my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks to get me back to 0. I could, alternatively, if I wasn't so bothered about the depth of field here, I could take maybe 3 clicks from the shutter speed. 1, 2, 3. That would get me back 1, 2, 3 to here, but I'd still be overexposed. Then I could get 2 more clicks back from the aperture. Those settings give me exactly the same exposure. They'll do different things to how my photo looks, but they'll give me exactly the same exposure, brightness. Not to scare you, but on your cameras, there's over 3,000 shutter speed, aperture, and ISO combinations you can use. Now, we're never going to get there. We never have to think of those numbers. But the reason I'm telling you that is that whenever you take a picture, the first thing you've got to get right is the brightness. The second thing you've got to think about is, what am I taking a picture of? What's my non-negotiable? Am I in Yosemite trying to get the whole valley in? Am I taking a picture of a hummingbird? What do I need to change? Okay. I'm going to do one more example with aperture, and then I'm going to move us on again. Anyone got any questions? You can just put up your hand. Is it making a little bit more sense than it was maybe half an hour ago?
Adam, you're explaining this so well. Really, it's just it's going to take a little bit to absorb, but you're really explaining it well.
Yeah, and you guys have the recording, and you can go back and look at this. Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. Do you really feel like you need that 100 ISO?
Not necessarily, and that's where we're going next.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
I
So generally, rule of thumb in photography is, if we can, we always keep our ISO as low as possible, because lower ISOs equal less noise, which means sharper photos, more contrast, more clarity, more color, more dynamic range. So ideally, we do want to keep our ISOs low, but as all of you know, sometimes you have to bump them up. I'm going to come to that in 1 second. I'm going to come back to ISO. I want to play out one more scenario here. Okay. Let's imagine I'm taking a picture of a tulip, and I just want the tulip to be in focus. Here's me taking my picture of my flower. Doesn't look like a tulip, but I'd like to think I'm a good photographer. My illustrations are like my 4-year-olds. So here's my flower, and I only want the flower to be in focus. I want lots of blur behind it. I want what we call a shallow depth of field. You all know what that is. I don't need to dwell on that. My camera settings, therefore, are I approach taking this flower, and my shutter speed is, I'm just going to make something up. My shutter speed is 1/500. My F is 2.8. That's what I need to get the shallow depth of field. And again, just for the time being, my ISO is 100. Again, I look at my meter. This time I'm going to make it really hard. I'm not going to put any numbers on. Okay. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to go baby bars. Okay. And I'm taking this picture, and it's telling me that I'm over here on that first green bar. Okay, I'm gonna go round the room. Just Charlie, you want to have a guess? Is that too bright or too dark?
It's too bright.
Good, really good. Okay, next person, Nancy, by how much is it too bright?
3 stops.
Think again, look at the meter. Where my arrow is.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 stop.
Okay.
Where's your arrow?
Right at 1 stop.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't see the arrow. Okay.
Okay. So my arrow, or even easier, if it makes it easier for you, I'll just light it up in pink.
That's okay. Yeah.
So that is telling me, Charlie correctly said, yes, that's too bright. And we know by how far it's too bright. This is telling me that I am plus 1F too bright. I.e., at the moment, I'm letting in double the amount of light that I should be letting in. How many clicks, Susie, do I need to get it back to 0?
You need to do 3 clicks.
3 clicks.
Excellent. So I need to get back my stop. So I need to go -1F. Now I have a choice here. I can do 3 clicks of my shutter speed. I can do 3 clicks of my aperture. But here's a common scenario that happens. If my photo is, we'll play out the scenario. I want that very shallow depth of field.
Mm-hmm.
Which one is my non-negotiable then in these?
F2.
F 2.8.
You got it. So I don't want it. So I want to let in the right amount of light, but I don't want to compromise creatively how I want my picture to look. What's the shutter speed got to go to?
Go.
At 1,000.
Okay, it's got to go 3 clicks.
I think, yeah. All go think about it.
2.2.
Okay, think about it. So we're 1 stop too bright. Are we going to make the picture brighter or darker?
You need it darker.
To which direction am I going?
1,000. 1,000.
Yeah, I got to speed up the shutter speed by 3 clicks. If I went the other way, if I went to 250, the meter's going to tell me I'm now too bright.
Yes.
Okay, so the correct answer here is the settings, which this would be beneficial anyway, because if the flower was blowing in the wind, we want a faster shutter speed to help freeze it. But we've also got the low F number. Okay. Making sense to everyone? A little bit more.
It is.
I know it takes time. Okay, let's push on to our last one. I may have to save some of our photos for next time, but while we're here, we're going to join up the exposure triangle. So our last one, anyone, what one am I missing here?
ISO.
ISO.
Got it. So ISO is our last one. Okay. And if you can all pick up your cameras and put your ISO to 100. Okay, and then Jenny, just take yourself off mute, please, if you wouldn't mind. And then Jenny, when your ISO is at 100, if you wouldn't mind just reading me the numbers as you go up.
Well, the first thing is I have to figure out how to set it on 100 because I
Okay.
have it set automatically
Oh,
to
yeah,
never go over 800. So I've got to figure out how to do that. I see a little button up here, but give me, go to somebody else. I'll figure it out.
Susie, go from 100.
Yeah, okay, do you want to go, okay, 125,
Yeah,
160,
yeah,
200, 250,
I'm going.
320, 400, 500,
I'm going.
640, 800, 1,000.
Stop there. Okay. So, in fact, ISO I think makes more sense than any of the rest of them. Because what happens, Joanne, as we're coming down here, if we change the ISO, are we making the picture brighter or darker as I come down my arrow?
Darker.
Mm-mm.
You're going down.
I'm going to, so if I took a picture at ISO 1000, would it be brighter or darker than a picture I took at ISO 100?
It'd be darker.
Be darker. So this is getting this. Well, 100 would be, you're going the wrong way around. But remember, as we go down here, we're letting in more light, or we're making the sensor more sensitive to light. Higher number, more light. Big number, some people like to remember, big number, bright, low number, low light. You all know this. It's just because I'm throwing so much other stuff at you that it's a little confusing, but you're doing really well. So as I come down here, the photo is getting brighter. Okay.
Mhm.
Now again, exactly like shutter speed and exactly like aperture, we on older cameras, and if you went out and bought a piece of film, it's unlikely you could find a piece of film that was ISO 250. The rolls of film that you would go and buy would be 100, 200, 400.
I remember those days.
In fact, 1, 2, 3. This is not right. We've missed
Yeah.
we've missed the number. This is not
Hmm.
100, 125, 160, 200. So that's 1, 2, 3. That's right. There we go. Okay, that's right. So as we are looking here, do you think we're gaining or losing a stop of light from 100 to 200?
Gaining.
Good. Plus 1F. Now, this one's really obvious. Susie, I'm going to ask you the question because
Sorry, I was changing my ISO on my camera. Okay,
I'm going to just ask you a question.
okay.
We move from 100 to 200. We're gaining a stop of light. What does that mean? What does that mean in the real world? How much more light are we getting?
We're actually losing a stop of light because it's getting darker.
100 to 200. So we go from 100 to 200. We're getting brighter, more light, more sensitive to light.
Getting darker.
No, let's
No,
take a
it's
step back.
faster.
Okay.
I thought you said moving down was getting darker.
No, moving down is so. We all know this. If we took a picture at ISO 200 and we took a picture at ISO 1000, which would be the brighter picture?
200.
Hold on, too many people talking. Charlie, would ISO 200 or ISO 1000 be the brighter picture?
1,000.
Good. Yeah. The higher the number, we know this. If we turn the
Oh.
ISO up, the photo gets brighter. Turn the ISO down, photo gets darker. Good way to remember ISO is think of it like a dimmer switch that you could have in your house for your lights. And as the number gets higher, we're turning up the dimmer switch inside the camera. As the number gets darker, we're turning down the dimmer switch.
Okay. Yeah.
So as we move here, I can kind of tell how you guys feel because my head feels like it's going to explode just teaching all of these. So 100 to 200, we're getting brighter. 200 to 400, we're getting brighter. And we're getting brighter by one full stop.
Mhm.
And where this makes sense more logically than the random aperture numbers and the random shutter speed numbers is in basic math, what's 100 times 2? 200.
200.
So I'm letting in double the amount of light. When 200 goes to 400, it's double the amount of light. When 400 goes to 800, it's double the amount of light. Remember, gaining a stop means that we double the amount of light. Joanne, how many clicks do we have to do to gain a stop on our camera?
3.
Good. Always 3 clicks. Doesn't matter if I'm talking about shutter speed, aperture, ISO. Always 3 clicks equals 1 stop. It's either 1 stop too bright or 1 stop too dark, depending which way you go. Okay, so I'm going to do a situation here. This makes sense to everyone, the ISO, and it's the same the other way. If you come this way, we're losing a stop. But again, like photographers banded together and they were like, this does not give us enough control to shoot in or to change the ISO in only full stops. In fact, if all of you, and I don't want you to do this, but if you go deep into the menu of your cameras, you'll see within the shooting menu, there's a line item that says exposure increments. And for every one of you, that's going to say a third, not 1. Some people change it because they want their cameras to be more like a traditional camera. But all of your cameras, whether it's shutter speed, aperture, or ISO, 1 click represents 1/3 of a stop, either to the positive or the negative. 3 clicks, therefore, equals 1 full stop. Okay? So why is this helpful? And how does this like help join? This is what I'm teaching you here is really like, it is the fundamentals of how the exposure triangle works. Like you all knew the exposure triangle. You all knew shutter speed, ISO, and aperture combine to control how bright or dark your picture is. This is making everything much more intentional. It's moving you on to a more advanced level, essentially, which is why it feels like a big jump. Let's run a scenario. Okay. The scenario is that I'm going to photograph a basketball match. Okay. I'm going to photograph a basketball game. What's my non-negotiable if I'm going to photograph a basketball game?
Shutter speed.
Good. So I know here that my shutter speed has got to be, I would make it faster than this, but I don't want to go off the table. But let's just say we're photographing kids basketball, so they're not moving that fast. My shutter speed is 1/1000. My F number is 5.6, and my ISO is 100. Okay, so here's my settings that I think I need to photograph the kids basketball. I walk into the gym and I have these settings and I have my meter. I'm actually going to use all the same color here because on your cameras, it's all the same color. So I'm just making it a little bit trickier. Okay. Walk into the gym and it's telling me, my meter, that I am here. Okay.
2 stops. 2 stops.
Don't shout, everyone. Don't shout, don't shout. Jenny, am I too dark or too bright?
You're too dark.
Good. Nancy, by how much am I too dark?
2 stops.
Good. Kim, if you're still there, how many clicks, if I'm 2 stops too dark, how many clicks do I need to get back to 0? Kim's not there. Joanne can help.
6. I mean,
Good.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Good. So I know straight away that I need 6 clicks because if I take this picture at the moment, it's going to be 2 stops underexposed. Now, I don't really want to change my shutter speed. I could, if it wasn't basketball, say I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which would take me to 1/250. That's going to screw up my picture because all of the kids playing basketball are going to be blurry. So what do we think, let's think about it, would be a good approach here to get me back to 0? We know I need 6 clicks. Okay. What's going to happen if I go 6 clicks down with the aperture? What's going to happen to the kid I'm photographing? Or I should say, what's going to happen to the background behind them?
Blurry, not sharp.
It's going to get more blurry, which maybe I want, maybe I don't want. Maybe there's 2 kids standing each other, and I'm like, I can't kind of compromise my depth of field because there's 2 kids and one slightly in front of the other, and I'm taking a picture for the parents, and I want both of these twins. Where do I get my 6 clicks from then?
ISO.
ISO,
No.
That's it. So who wants to tell me what the ISO needs to be?
400.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's it. Always we think about shutter speed and aperture first, and then ISO is like our crutch. ISO is the one we can dial up or dial down to mean that we can keep our shutter speed or our aperture where we need it to be. Okay? I'm going to do another one. This time, I'm going to use Susie's settings, which is how we went down this.
This is
Very
what I'm realizing, Adam. Yes.
But I think
Great. Thank you, Susie.
Sorry, folks.
for those of you whose heads feel like they're going to explode, you can thank Susie for
Yes.
I was going to talk about color today, but I'm going to talk about color next time when we're not going to go nearly as sciencey and mathematical as this. And to be honest, one of the beauties of photography is that photography is very much like a left brain and right brain discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Some people go, I know to all of you guys, it feels like we're really digging. You can go so deep into the numbers in photography and start building into equations and all these other stuff that I'm never going to teach you because I don't think you need to know. And on the other side, you can kind of say, I don't care about all of this stuff, and I'm just going to keep my camera on auto and just focus on good composition and rule of thirds and color and perspective and all the other things that we talk about. But the truth is, really good photography, making really good photographs, is a blend of left brain, right brain. But just some people tend to veer more towards one than the other, just because of how we think. So
I'm just kind of shocked that people don't teach this in the beginning, that we're learning this now after we've been taking photos for so long. I mean, of course, we know a lot of this, but we haven't put all the parts together as succinctly as this.
And kind of essentially what I am teaching you here, which you need to be a good photographer and a good like editor in Lightroom. Anything you do with photography should be done with intention. It shouldn't be guesswork. It shouldn't be I'm just going to fumble around and experiment 20 times to see what I get it. Because ultimately, if you guys go on a hike and there's a hawk in the sky, I need you to be able to know straight away, like the right settings without fumbling, because if you fumble, the hawk's gone. And this comes back to remember my 4 Ps to be a good photographer: practice, perseverance, patience, and perspective. This stuff requires like patience. It requires perseverance, like of going over it, of practicing it, and it requires practice. But yeah, to answer your question, Susie, interestingly, like when I teach people, not in a group setting, but when I teach people privately, usually as soon as I've got them onto manual, I straight away would do a lesson on this.
Really good.
Because you kind of, it's like building blocks. You teach people aperture, then you teach people shutter speed, then you teach people ISO, and then you join them all together.
Yeah, I mean, I learned this many, many years ago, and have been taking class. I mean, I seem like it's been in all my classes, so, but I've just taken a lot of formal classes, so it's kind of the difference.
Well,
right?
I'm just saying to this extent of putting the 3 parts together. I mean, I know them individually. I know the triangle, but this is a deeper dive than I've had before, which is fantastic. I appreciate it.
Good.
Yes, great review. Yeah.
So hold on. So we're going to go back, as I said, to how we got into this entire conversation. And we got into this entire conversation because Susie was trying to photograph were you photographing water splashes on the flower? What were you trying to do?
Yeah, in an ISO of 100, which was
so Susie settings were 1:640, f 2.8, ISO 100. Okay, I don't call out anything, anyone, please, just for the time being. I want to play this out and talk it through and let everyone think about it. So I'm going to put them in pink: 1640, f 2.8, ISO 100. Okay. Susie's meter, I'm going to pretend, but I'm going to draw it. I'll draw it up here. Here's Susie's meter. Okay. Is telling her, I'll put the little baby ones in here. Because she was inside and it was a cloudy day, the meter is flashing at her here. Okay. Don't call it out. Just have a think about it for a second. And I haven't made my bars maybe as obvious as I should do. So first question, I'm just going to go round the room again. This is 0. First question is Susie's photo with these settings too bright or too dark, Charlie?
Too dark.
Good. So it's too dark. Next question, Jenny. By how much is it too dark?
I think it's 7, but I'm not sure.
You're right. So what? So how many stops? Too dark.
It would be 2 1/3. Is that it?
Excellent. Very good. So this is telling me that it's 2/3 of a stop. 2 1/3 of a stop. Too dark. Jenny already correctly identified that means for us to get back to 0, we need 7 clicks. Okay, making sense? Everyone making sense? Keeping up?
Mhm.
Good. Okay, don't call out just yet. So she's -2 1/3. The aim of the game in what she was trying to do, and another like use case for this could be Jenny was trying to photograph a hummingbird at a feeder and it was cloudy, or Kim was trying to photograph a person fishing from the dock behind their Zoom and they were throwing out their rod and you wanted to freeze them. Anything with movement that you wanted. Charlie went out and there was some ducks in the lake behind her and she wanted to freeze the ducks. But in this particular case with Susie, what was her non-negotiable, Nancy? If she was trying to capture splashes on the flower, what's the most important out of the 3 variables?
Exposure. I mean, f-stop, not, what do I want to say? Shutter speed.
Good. Shutter speed is the non-negotiable here. We know we need to get back 7 clicks of light plus 2 1/3. I could easily make this ridiculously easy and just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Make that 1/125. But that completely defeats the purpose of what Susie is trying to do. Because the picture's just not it's going to be the right brightness, but it's not going to come out how she wants it to come out. If anything, I'm going to make this more complicated in a minute, but if anything, her shutter speed needs to be faster than this. 1640 may not be enough. But for the first instance, let's get her back to 0. So we've got 7 clicks. Joanne, where do you think we need to go?
I would change the ISO
Good.
to 7 clicks.
And if you think about it, what are we stuck with we need to let in more light. We can't make the F number any bigger than this. 2.8, we're stuck. I can't go down 2 stops with the F number because this particular lens doesn't go down to 1.2. People pay a lot of money for lenses that go from 2.8 to 1.8 or from 4 to 2.8 because it lets in double the amount of light. You've all got different lenses that let in, depending on what type of lens you have, more light. So correct, Joanne, the right answer, everyone, is you just simply here go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. ISO goes to 500. That's the same as going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Now I'm going to make it harder. That makes sense to everyone? How we got that? So we go to ISO 500. Great. Susie then drops her flower into a glass vase and wants to capture the splashes, and realizes that 1640 is not fast enough to do it. The water's not frozen. And she ascertains that she needs to go to 1000 in order to do it. Okay, so we're at 1640. When we go to 1000, if we're currently at 0, what's going to happen to the meter? Is it going to go to the,
Right.
is it going to go to the left, or is it going to go to the right?
Left.
Think about it. Well, as we go from 1640 to 1000, are we letting in less light or more light? Are we speeding up or slowing down the shutter speed?
We're letting in more light.
More light,
From 1640 to 1000?
more light.
Well, I thought you were saying 500 to 1,000. Sorry.
Regardless, if I'm going from 1500 to 1000, take a step back, everyone. Kim's gesticulating. Take a step back. Yeah, hold on, don't tell everyone, Kim. If you guys know this, if I take a picture at 1500 and then I take another picture of exactly the same thing at 1000, which will be the darker picture? 1500 or 1000?
1,000.
Does it?
1000.
500.
1000 is the answer. The faster, remember, faster shutter speeds, let in
Yes.
light.
We're getting discombobulated a little bit here.
I know. I know. But you guys are doing good. I'm just trying. I'm throwing in very
We
hard.
get it, but we're just losing our brains a little bit.
I know. We're going to go and look at some fun pictures in a minute, and you guys can like completely switch off and just look at some pretty pictures. But essentially, when we go from 1640 to 1000,
Mhm.
we're making the picture darker. So and we're making it darker by 2 clicks.
Yes.
My meter starts flashing at me here.
Mhm.
When I change this to 1000. All I then have to do to get those clicks back is up my ISO by 2 clicks.
Huh?
So the ideal scenario is 1000, 2.8, 800. Susie, your shutter speed could have gone way quicker just by increasing.
Right. I guess I thought you had said keep your ISO really low. I thought I had that.
It's true, and a lot of people get scared by that when I say that, because it is true that like the way that if you read a textbook and they taught you photography, it's always, Jenny made this point earlier, it's always low ISOs are preferable. But at the same time, as cameras have got better, we have the ability to push our ISOs higher without creating quite so much noise. And that's what it's there for. The ISO is there, in this case, to let you use a faster shutter speed. Okay. Go back, take a look at the recording, go back through this in your own time. I know this is a lot to digest, but essentially, we have just covered the entirety of the exposure triangle. And most importantly, we've covered a couple of important things. One is our photo too bright or too dark? That's the first question. Is it too bright or too dark? The second question that we now know the answer to is by how much? The third thing is we now know how to fix it. And if you're finding all the numbers overwhelming and you're like, oh my God, I just can't take this all in. If you take away anything out of today's session, it's 3 clicks, it's 1 stop. That's the easiest thing to remember. And that when we gain a stop, we double the amount of light. When we lose a stop, we halve it. Divide by 2, actually. Sorry. Okay. Anyone got any? So this. Do you know what? When you go to manual on your camera, which some of you aren't always shooting on manual, but when you go to manual, you really have to know this. Because if you don't know it, you're literally fumbling in the dark. And everything is, I may have got that by luck, but I didn't get it through intention. Okay. So I'm going to get you guys to practice this. I'm going to give you an assignment at the end of the class to think about this. So
Adam, I have a quick question. I
okay.
wonder if, since it depends on your camera, my native ISO is 160, and I
Yeah.
don't know if that's true with other people and their cameras instead of
Yeah, great
100.
question. Great question. So depending on the camera, some people's ISOs are going to go down as low as 64. Some people's are only going to go down as low as 200. Doesn't really matter. Um, Again, the reason why people pay more money for better cameras, and you'll often see it advertised, like if you read up anything on a camera, you're potentially looking at it will say great low light performance. That's just the fancy way of basically being able to say on that particular camera, you can push up the ISO more than you can on another camera without getting so much noise. The quality of the sensor becomes better, which means that you can go to ISO 2000, whereas on a traditional camera, maybe you could only go to ISO 800 and they'll have the same level of noise. So all of your, I often set ISO boundaries for people of low ISO and the highest you should possibly go to, but it's very dependent on your individual cameras. So I can't just kind of make a blanket statement like always be here or always be here. But what I can make a blanket statement on is the lower you ideally want to keep your ISOs as low as possible. Okay. So relax, sit back. I'm not going to ask on any of you. We're going to look at some pictures.
But what's interesting is we're staring at a picture the whole time that's ISO is 50, these crazy iPhone numbers.
Yeah. Don't
We
worry,
can't
Sarah.
control.
Yeah, but you actually can control them. But
Yeah, you can't control them, but I mean, we typically have to go to the
you,
pro camera or
yeah,
whatever.
you got to go to Pro Camera or the Lightroom app or other things to be able to control them. Yeah, and the iPhone comes up with some crazy settings sometimes. But the iPhone's main job, like when your camera is on automatic, like if you said to the people who made the camera in the iPhone, what is the main job that you wanted to get it to do? It's ultimately to always have you at zero. It always wants to give you a photo as your eyes see it, because someone who's clueless and has never taken a photography lesson, if they go out and they take a picture and it's wildly too bright or wildly too dark, they're going to go to the Apple store and say something's wrong with my phone.
I didn't want to belittle it, but it was just sitting there the whole screen. So
Absolutely. It could have, to be honest, it could have been any photo that I could have had up. Like, if I bring up this, it could have been like here. This is on a camera.
a little more normal.
Yeah. Um, but the person who photographed this actually is kind of interesting. They moved their hand very, very quickly, and they also added motion blur in afterwards. But look, this is a fast shutter speed, relatively nice F number, kind of in between, and I would call that a low ISO. Interesting picture, whoever took this. Nice job, really good storytelling picture. Really nice capture. Maybe horizon is a tad through in the middle. I'd probably like pull the whole photo over like that, just so you feel like you're walking with the couple over to that bird. But very good in terms of movement, which was the theme that started at the beginning. So this one as well, really creative picture. Really, don't worry about the settings so much on these iPhone ones, but person who's taken this picture has moved their hand, or I think actually they've done some stuff on the computer afterwards to create this motion blur. Really nice colors, really like interesting photo of the flag rather than just a straight capture. Compositionally, they've chosen to put kind of the stars and stripes right in the middle of the frame, which is kind of an interesting choice. But I think it works here because there's a lot of symmetry. Oops, there's a lot of symmetry with all these swaling lines, curved lines, which kind of frame you into the flag. If this was often composed more like the rule of thirds, then I think it may not quite look. It still works, but it's a different type of photo, depending how powerful or not powerful you wanted the flag look. If you put it at the bottom, the flag doesn't look as powerful. If you wanted to send a powerful message, then you put it up on there on the top right. Composition can change how we think about things. But nice job, whoever did that one. Really nice. Here's Nancy's 4 pictures, right? These are just interesting because we talked about shutter speed. As we move from each one of these pictures, take a note of Nancy's shutter speed. 1/400, 1/100. Look at the waterfall. 125, 1 whole second. as we're getting slower and slower and slower, the water becomes more and more silky. I'll do it again. So we're going from 400, water's pretty crisp. On 100, 125, 1 second. Now, what's interesting here is the exposures aren't getting much brighter, 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 which they should be. And the reason being is because of exactly what we spent the entire lesson learning about today. Look at the F number when Nancy changed her shutter. So here it's 405.6. As she let in more light to slow down the shutter speed, the F number has to go up. As she let in more light again, the F number has to go up. Otherwise, her picture's going to end up looking, because she slowed down the shutter speed, her picture's going to end up looking like this.
It's weird it chose such a high f-stop.
Yeah, Nancy, did you do that yourself? Were you on manual? Nancy probably
I
controlled.
was on manual.
Yeah. So
And
Nancy, you probably could have taken down. Well, actually, it was probably was it an overcast day?
It was still, the sun was coming up, but it was still low, and I was trying to get it before sunshine was on it.
Yeah. So it's relatively dim, the light, which is why Nancy's had to turn up her ISO.
So she turned the f-stop up. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
The ISO could have gone down, I suppose.
Potentially, yeah. And then look at the last one. Look how big the F number had to go. To mean we weren't. And look what now.
With a really low ISO.
With a really low ISO.
Yeah.
So if we think about our 3 columns, and shutter speed is the non-negotiable here. That's the one Nancy has to get at 1 second to get this right. Problem is that's letting in a ton of light. So what does she do? She goes all the way down here and makes a teeny weeny little hole, like the size of the head of a pin, to let in less light, and ideally keeps the ISO nice and low as well. Now, if this had been if Nancy had gone out there at 8 p.m. at night and it was even darker, she could have just lifted her ISO up if she needed to be.
I actually was planning to do it with, as it got dark, with the pool light on. Didn't work at all.
Yeah, you probably needed to come on or be on a tripod and really slow down the shutter speed.
Well, these were all on a tripod, but it wasn't lighting up the waterfall.
You should have been able to get it. Maybe you just needed to let in more light. Maybe slow it much. Maybe a 5, 10, 15-second shutter speed was needed.
Well, maybe.
So I don't know because I don't know how light it is. But if it wasn't letting in enough light, you need to do something. And the obvious thing here would be to slow down the shutter speed.
I really wanted the light on the waterfall, and I even tried a flashlight, and that didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, this is a good light. I like the crop probably a bit more. Maybe like that. Kind of don't need to see all the back of that pool. But yes, what you've done here, Nancy, which has really helped me for my teaching, is you've run through, which is what I said to people. I said, run a tap in your kitchen, take 4 different pictures at 4 different shutter speeds, and look how the water looks different. That helps us really understand how shutter speed.
It's really good. Yeah, nice work.
Remember, shutter speed primarily controls how bright or dark our photograph is, but its side effect is all to do with movement. Let's look at Charlie's one here. So this is a lovely photo. Really?
Well, I have a question about, I love to take pictures of things when I'm driving by. So, can you do that on a cell phone?
Yeah. You just have to control because well, think about it. When you're driving, let's say you're driving or you're in a train or you're on an airplane, what's the non-negotiable out of these 3 that we have to get right? Otherwise we end up with a blurry photograph.
Probably the shutter speed.
Yeah. So the shutter speed and does the shutter speed, if we're on a moving vehicle, does the shutter speed have to be faster or slower? Let Charlie answer, please.
Well, faster.
Good. So if we're on a train, if we're on a gondola, if we're on a car, we need a faster shutter speed. Charlie's got it. Was this taken out a car, Charlie?
I think I took this with my Sony. I don't know.
You did take what you're saying, but was it taken out the car?
Yes.
Yeah. So what you can see is actually, if you look really closely, that it's pretty sharp, but the bus is not quite sharp.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little bit of motion blur. That's showing me that you're in a car. So
Yeah.
ideally, the shutter speed here could have gone up a little bit. Now, I'll talk through both scenarios. It could have gone up on your Sony. Let's just say you went up by 3 clicks. Okay. Taking you up by 3 clicks would take you to 3200.
I can't even see what my
It was
screen
it
is.
was it was 1/16. It was 1600.
Oh,
So I've made it faster. To
okay.
compensate, I just take the ISO up to 640. That would have given you.
Okay.
But to answer your question, can you do it on a cell phone, Charlie? Yes, but you have to not go through Apple's normal camera.
Oh, okay.
And this particular group, we've never really gone deep down into cell phones because most of you want to take pictures on your cameras. But I can definitely dedicate maybe half a lesson to showing you guys how to, because I think Kim mentioned it and Jenny also mentioned it today. So I'll make a note of it that we can take more manual control of our iPhones to enable us to figure out, are we in a, because the iPhone has no idea what you're taking. The iPhone has no idea if you're in a car that's going 90 miles an hour and a car that's going 5 miles an hour. It just wants to give you a photo that is the correct brightness. So sometimes we have to overwrite the iPhone and say, hey, I'm in this situation where I need a fast shutter speed. Help me get here. And I'm going to give you, like, there's that classic phrase that the best camera is the 2 inches behind it.
Do
I
you like to take or give classes on the iPhone?
absolutely. Do you know what I would say now? If I looked at the pot of, I don't know how many tens of hundreds of students that I teach like each month, both in a group and privately, and it's in the hundreds. Now compared to 5 years ago, 5 years ago, it was probably 90% cameras, 10% cell phones. Now it's probably about 70% cell phones. Oh yeah, I run tons of just workshops just on iPhones because lots of people don't have cameras and they've got an iPhone and the best camera you have is the one in your pocket. So yeah,
Yeah,
to your question, yes, I do a lot of work. But with this particular group, I haven't focused on that
right.
because
I have another group I'm thinking of, so
yeah,
I'm glad to know that you do it. And I'll send something to you.
that'd be great. Thank you. But I think as a capture, where is this, Charlie? It's a great, it's a
It's on the Camas Prairie in Idaho,
yeah. I mean,
from Mountain Home to.
I love this old abandoned bus with all the
Well, I
rust.
think that the three elements, like the tanks, the
Yeah.
boat, what the heck is the boat doing there in the middle of nowhere?
Meadow.
It's a real storytelling picture. And a really nice, I mean, I love capturing we call this beauty in decay. So this is a really good example of a beauty in decay photo.
Mhm.
The feedback is, I think, just be aware that the faster you're moving, the faster you need to ideally move your shutter speed.
Okay.
Really get it crisp. And we can do that in the camera, or we can do that. I'm going to skip some of these photos actually intentionally because I threw them in there. We'll look at these ones, which were the last from the group here, and we can come back to some other ones. This is Joanne. So
Yeah.
Joanne did a series here. Look at her shutter speed. Fast or slow? 1/5. Fast or slow? Feel free to shout out. Look at the picture. I mean, the picture's the giveaway. Is that
Fast.
Fast.
no?
Fast.
No, it's slow.
Oh, oh,
If
oh,
it was,
because it's
if it was fast,
Good.
these would all be perfectly crisp.
Oh, you're right. Sorry.
Okay, okay. Well, you've got to stick with.
and I got mixed up.
Guys, you've got 2 minutes to stick with me, and then
Yes.
I'm going to go and have a lie down. So yeah, slow shutter speed, which means when Joanne moved her hand, we're seeing the movement of her hand. When she moved her hand here, and she happened to move it even faster, we see the movement even more
Yes.
because this is ICM. You all know what this is. We've covered it. Intentional camera movement. Joanne has purposely moved her hand with a slow shutter speed. I really like this one, Joanne.
Oh, that's great.
Which shows you don't always have to go up and down or left to right. Drawing in this kind of wave-like pattern has created. I mean, it almost looks like, I don't know, dancing flamingos. It could be anything. You wouldn't know. But all Joanne's done is moved her hand in this direction If she'd slowed her shutter speed down even more, this would have looked just even more abstract. It would have been even more. But at a shutter speed of between like 1/5 and 1/6, and this one's a little bit faster, 1/8. Joanne's moving her hand pretty fast here to get this picture. Here she's just done an arc. This one, I probably, if I was like working on or cropping it, I think getting rid of that negative space in the top. Think about kind of coming a bit more in on this arch, even flipping it. But this is a perfect, like, whenever I set the move, like flipping it this way, a perfect movement assignment. Often people come back with intentional camera movement. It's one way to look at the theme. It's the complete opposite of what Susie was doing, which was trying to freeze motion, fast shutter speed. This is trying to show motion, slow shutter speed. Okay? So, well done.
Thank you.
Good lesson today. Very good. Here's our assignment. Okay. So our assignment is going to be, I want you to all use your cameras and I want you to shoot exclusively on manual.
On manual?
Yeah. Reason being is I want you to think about, well, when I change the shutter speed, what happens to my picture and what do I have to change? It's going to be different. And don't be alarmed if you take some pictures and they're really bright or they're really dark. That's part of the learning process. You learn through your mistakes. But I want you to shoot on manual exclusively. I want you to kind of be strict with yourselves. And I'm gonna give hold on, how long have we got till our next classes? The next class, we got 1 week or 2 weeks? Let me have a look.
Two.
I think we got
No. Yeah.
two.
The
Yeah, the
29th.
next class is on the 29th.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Morning of the 29th is our next.
Yes.
So I am gonna give you the theme. I'm gonna go I'm gonna like strip it back. Really basic. I've actually given you guys this theme before, but I'm gonna give it to you again. And I'm gonna give you the theme of lines. It's a very like basic theme. It's a theme I'd usually give to a beginners group. But I'm giving it to you because I don't.
Regressing, folks.
No, you're not regressing. You're not regressing because I want you to.
That's okay. We're not offended at all.
I want you to think about the theme of lines, but shooting on manual. That's the key. I could really just say, I'm not going to give you a theme. Go out and shoot whatever you want. The main crux of what I want you to do is I want you to shoot on manual. And then when you will send me your photos, I'm hoping that we'll be able to look at the settings and it's going to make a lot more sense to all of you. The shutter speed, the aperture, and the ISO combinations. Okay. Let me stop the record.